Welcome, everyone. This is Wednesday's Music News Power Hour from the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. We're going to be starting our countdown and the read of our headlines here shortly. Go ahead and take this opportunity to ping your friends into the room using the plus sign at the bottom. If you are joining us on the video chat, hello and welcome to the stream. You can chime in the chat, and you can also raise your hand to join at any time if you'd like to discuss the headline that we are reading. Use the hand raise button at the bottom of the room to raise your hand, join the stage, and join the conversation. We're going to get started here shortly, but I want to say hello to Angela. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. I've re-emerged from the wonderful wizarding world of Harry Potter, so I'm back.
Welcome back. Excellent. That's quite a trip, quite a journey. I'm glad you made it safely. I love it. All right, we are moving on into our countdown. Once again, ping your friends into the room. We are beginning our show and our broadcast here shortly. You can visit us on our website if you would like to join us on stream. That is musicindustrycity.com. Join us on the website, join us on stream, join the conversation by raising your hand, and we're off.
It is Wednesday, the 23rd of June, and this is the Music News Power Hour on the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. I'm Peter Schwing. Please welcome and joining my co-hosts Eli Window and Angela Randall. Welcome back, Angela.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Great to see you, Peter. Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, happy Wednesday. I was trying to get the stream launched over here. It was like, and we're also over in Green Room right now. So we are doing this syndicated over in Green Room. I hope it sounds okay over there. We will be following the text chat in there. So if you want to add any comments, and also we put a link in there to access all the show notes. So in today's news, let's get to it. The judge blocks the sale of Jay-Z's album as an NFT. Recording Academy restructuring means co-presidents. Is the live industry facing a driver shortage? MPs join music industry in criticizing UK findings, and Facebook will waive streaming commissions. And as always, our daily Spotify update. These stories coming up right after our look at this day in music history with Eli Window. Take it away, Eli.
All right. On this day in music history, 2016, we lost American bluegrass artist Ralph Stanley, who was known for his distinctive singing and banjo playing. He died aged 89. With his brother Carter, he helped popularize bluegrass. Stanley won new fans when his work featured in the Coen Brothers film, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? In memory. Moving on, born this day, 1940, Stuart Sutcliffe, original bassist of the Beatles for about 18 months. And also born this day in 1960, American record producer, mixer, engineer, and musician Brendan O'Brien, who has produced to date 14 U.S. #1 albums for such acts as Pearl Jam, Bruce Springsteen, AC/DC, The Black Crowes, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Aerosmith. Also born this day, 1962, Steve Shelley, drummer with Sonic Youth. Born this day in 1975, Scottish singer-songwriter K.T. Tunstall. And moving on this day in history, 1975, during his Welcome to My Nightmare tour in Vancouver, Canada, Alice Cooper fell from the stage and broke 6 ribs. Ouch. On this date, June 23, 2009, Chris Brown pleaded guilty to 1 count of assault on his former girlfriend, Rihanna. The 19-year-old R&B singer was sentenced to 5 years probation and ordered to do 6 months community service. Brown had faced charges of assaulting Rihanna, age 21, during a row in February. This last-minute plea deal came before a hearing at Los Angeles court in which Rihanna was due to give evidence. The Los Angeles County Superior Court judge also ordered Brown and Rihanna to stay at least 50 yards away from each other, except at entertainment industry events, when the distance was reduced to 10 yards. And on this day in music history, June 23, 2010, 62-year-old Greg Allman underwent a successful liver transplant operation in Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida. Allman had begun a series of treatments for hepatitis C, but chronic damage of his liver led doctors to recommend a transplant. In a statement to the press, Allman said, quote, "I changed my ways years ago, but we can't turn back time. Every day is a gift." Every day is a gift indeed, including today. And that's it for On This Day in Music History. Back over to you, Peter.
All right, thank you for that. All right, and so this is where we summarize the most essential news in the fast-paced music business. I'd also like to thank everyone who is viewing the show in AltSpace VR and on our live stream and over in Green Room. So hello, Green Room. How you doing? Great to see you. It is text only, unfortunately, because we are multi-connected. We cannot have audio coming out of Green Room. We don't want to violate any terms and conditions over there. So, but feel free. We are going to be monitoring the chat. So say hi and feel free to give some gems away to Nikki, who's helping out over there. So give her some gems. All right, to set the stage for the roundtable discussion, we begin by reading key sections of media pieces. If you'd like to provide commentary on one of today's topics, raise your hand during the reading. To stay up to date on this and other program, follow the Music Industry City Group or hit the follow button for all our speakers. And you may register for free at musicindustrycity.com to obtain access to exclusive content and networking events. Also, remember to follow your hosts and any commentators we bring up onto stage. And let's get to it. All right, and this first piece is from musicbusinessworldwide.com. To access all the articles mentioned in today's show and throughout the week, you can go to musicindustrycity.com and click on the show notes graphic. So again, that's musicindustrycity.com and click on the graphic that says show notes, and you'll be able to access all our playlists and our news headlines of the day and throughout the week. This one starts off, Sony Music buys majority stake in Todd Moskowitz Alamo Recordings for 9-figure sum. Sony Music Entertainment has made yet another major acquisition, this time in the world of U.S. hip-hop and pop music, by buying a majority stake in Todd Moskowitz's Alamo Records. New York-based Alamo was founded in 2016 and has broken artists including Black Bear, Lil Durk, and Rod Wave. So sources tell Music Business Worldwide the deal was for 9-figure sum and that Sony paid comfortably north of $125 million. They're also told that Universal Music Group had a contractual first option to buy the label, but agreed to let it go elsewhere. Lil Durk and Rod Wave have each scored their first #1 albums on the Billboard 200 this year with the voice of The Heroes and Soundfly, respectively. Today's news comes in the same 6-month period that has seen Sony Music acquire the likes of Jay Irvin's Human Resources as well as Cobalt's AWOL, the latter in a $430 million deal. As a result of the Alamo majority acquisition, Alamo's existing roster and catalog will become what Sony calls a, quote, new frontline creative center within Sony Music Entertainment. Alamo will continue to sign, develop, and market its own roster of artists under the leadership of Moskowitz as CEO. And Rob Stringer, chairman of Sony Music Group, said, "We are very excited to bring Todd and his label Alamo to our country. He has always been a visionary in the area of music that is now front and center of pop culture globally, so we are delighted to add his experience and expertise to our creative strategy." I think we're going to remember 2020 and 2021. I think one of the biggest takeaways of these 2 years with the asterisk is just going to be the mergers and acquisitions. I think that is the big takeaway that we're going to remember. I mean, with catalog acquisitions, labels being acquired, it's going to be really interesting to see how this all shakes out. Moving along to this one's from Cointelegraph. For all you crypto fans that follow the crypto news, Cointelegraph, this one talks about Judge block sale of Jay-Z's first album and its copyright as an NFT. Damon Dash has slammed the complaint against him from Rockefeller Records, stating that he never minted an NFT and was only attempting to sell his stake in the company. A New York judge has issued a temporary restraining order to block an alleged attempt from Rockefeller Records co-founder Damon Dash to sell a tokenized version of Jay-Z's first album, Reasonable Doubt, along with its copyright. Dash, however, has claimed he was only trying to sell his stake in Rockefeller Records. Jay-Z co-funded Rockefeller with Damon Dash and Kareem Burke back in 1996. The record label has split ownership between the three, with the company owning the full copyright to the album in question. Rockefeller asserted that Dash was attempting to auction off a tokenized version of the album and its copyright on Superfarm on June 23rd, an NFT marketplace co-created by crypto YouTuber Elliot Trades. While that auction was canceled, the complaint alleges Dash is, quote, frantically trying to arrange another. New York District Court Judge John P. Cronin agreed to halt the sale and restrain Dash from selling the copyright of the album until at least after a July 1st hearing. A complaint filed on June 18th shows a number of claims against Dash, including a breach of fiduciary duty, unjust enrichment, conversion, and replevin. It reads, quote, "The bottom line is simple. Dash can't sell what he doesn't own. By attempting such a sale, Dash has converted a corporate asset and has breached his fiduciary duties." The complaint cites an announcement from Supervan before the auction on June 23rd, in which the NFT platform said it is, quote, proud to announce in collaboration with Damon Dash the auction of Damon's ownership of the copyright to Jay-Z's first album, Reasonable Doubt, with Rockefeller asserting that the NFT has already been minted on the blockchain. So this is going to be really interesting. I mean, my question is, like, if you're selling share, you're part of your company. I mean, does an NFT really matter? Like, this is just it sounds like it's being more complex and just jumping on the NFT bandwagon to get more. But, a sale of a company is more than just attaching it to an NFT.
I think that the takeaway here, and in so many of the articles about NFTs that we've discussed in the Music News Power Hour, I think the big takeaway is that proceed with caution when you are dealing with NFTs. Make sure you know what you're talking about. Make sure that you have good advice and someone who can give you good advice if you're not familiar. So just make sure you know what you're getting into. Do your due diligence before NFTing.
Before nufting.
Don't nuft without doing due diligence.
Yes. I mean, the thing is, we're going to see a lot of this copyright intellectual property battles going on. This is what's, the lawyers are going to be really happy about this. And moving over to Billboard.com, the Recording Academy structures leadership with new co-presidents. Felicia Butterfield-Jones and Panos A. Panay will work alongside CEO Harvey Mason Jr. as co-presidents of the organization. For the first time, the Recording Academy will have separate CEO and president, or make that president starting August 16th. Recording Academy President CEO Harvey Mason Jr., who accepted that role on a permanent basis in May, will relinquish half of his title to co-presidents Felicia Butterfield-Jones and Panos A. Panay, restructuring the organization's executive suite. Butterfield-Jones, who was hired as the Academy's first Chief Diversity Officer and Equity Inclusion Officer in May 2020, after 4 years as Google's Global Head of Inclusion, will retain her existing responsibilities and now oversee membership, awards, advocacy, and related initiatives. Panay, who founded and ran Sonic Bids, and will join the Academy from Berklee College of Music, where he was a Senior Vice President of Global Strategy and Innovation, will also become Chief Revenue Officer. Butterfield-Jones goes on to say, quote, "The three of us will be operating as a unit as we strengthen every system in every part of our organization from the inside out." The new co-presidents assumed their roles at a period of dramatic change for the Academy. The previous CEO, Deborah Dugan, was ousted after 5 months in January 2020, just 10 days before that year's Grammy Awards ceremony. The organization accused her of workplace bullying. She filed an Equal Employment Opportunity Commission discrimination complaint alleging she was terminated because she had threatened to expose misconduct. Arbitration hearings are scheduled to begin July 12th. Since then, a board chair and interim president CEO Mason has instituted a major structural reorganization overseeing new diversity initiatives for incoming voter member classes and, in April, led a board of trustees vote to disband nomination review committees. After a lengthy search process to hire new president CEO, Mason was named to the role permanently on May 13th and recently told Billboard that a hiring search is underway for in-house counsel. So it goes on with some more quotes. This is really interesting. It's been it's great to see that this is all coming. I mean, they've been talking about change for years, a much needed change in the Recording Academy. So this is good to see that there is some shakeups and there is more of a team working together, as just as what we've seen in the past. We're going to talk a little about live touring, and we've discussed this a few times. And there was an article in Billboard, and I'm bringing this up, and the article is titled "As Truckers Pump the Brakes on Returning to Touring, Is the Industry Facing a Driver Shortage?" And again, you can find all these article links in our show notes at musicindustrycity.com. Go to musicindustrycity.com and click on the show notes graphic to access all the show notes and links to the articles. We update them every day and refresh them every Monday. So I'm going to read a little portion. It starts off by telling in a story. And this isn't just about drivers. This is for a lot of crew across the board in many different areas. But this article starts off, vaccine hesitancy, better pay elsewhere, and grueling itineraries are causing some to rethink their return to the road with rock stars. So they focus a story briefly on John Rogan, who is driving Stained frontman Adam Lewis in a tour bus from Cleveland to a casino gig in New York State. This was on March 14th of 2020. The call came in from management, quote, pull him over. As one of Rogan's last acts as a concert industry bus driver, he drove members of the crew to the Cleveland airport. By March 16th, he was home in a small town north of Phoenix where he sat for months. During the pandemic, Rogan bought a used Peterbilt 379 big rig, fired up a load board app, and switched to hauling Amazon freight. Now the 53-year-old who has driven the Allman Brothers, the Tedeschi Trucks Band, and many others for nearly 3 decades refuses to go back. He says, I was on the road for 2 months at a time or more, and that was wearing on my marriage and my life. Now you can listen to what you want on the radio, and if you feel like pulling over and taking a nap, you pull over and take a nap. Rogan's not the only former tour bus driver who's found more comfortable lifestyle in trucking during the pandemic. Now, artists and their teams are struggling to find qualified drivers, and that's proven problematic as concerts resume. They say it's going to be wild. There's going to be massive shortage of drivers in the entertainment industry, says Jamie Streetman, operation manager for Quarters, which has 20 buses in its national fleet and has carried stars from Aretha Franklin to Jay-Z. Goes on, a lot of these guys is not like they've taken a little leave of absence for months. They've gone to Little Jimmy's graduation or Sally's piano recital. Little things like that mean a lot over a year. So another reason for drivers' departures from the industry. Most tours are requiring vaccines for their entire crews, and Rogan and others refuse to get the shots. I won't go on with what he's quoted as saying here, but he goes into a rant and about how he doesn't trust the government and vaccines are so easy to produce. Why is anyone cured for cancer or AIDS? Rock LaRocca, another former driver who left the concert business for pandemic freight hauling and refuses to come back, says half of his decision is due to vaccine hesitancy. He has asthma and a history of heart attacks and diabetes and, quote, wants to see how it's going to work out in the next couple of years. For now, he's able to live a more solitary life in his cab, wearing masks and gloves at future truck stops. So it's really, I mean, we can go deeper into this article, but it's the overview of like multiple reasons. When you start, people are talking, like drivers saying, hey, I'm not going to get vaccinated. So therefore, hey, well, you can't drive. Well, then they need drivers. They need experienced drivers and experienced crew. And this is going to be the challenge that is happening. If anybody has any thoughts and wants to jump on stage, raise your hand, any comments, and feel free to jump on up. And everybody over in Green Room, if you have any thoughts, throw them into the chat.
Yeah, I've heard actually from some chefs over here in the UK as well that are facing sort of a similar situation, not just touring catering, but also in restaurants and a few others. Because they're so highly skilled, they're kind of tired of the long hours, and they're tired of sort of the lack of job security and a few other things that go along with it, because a lot of that business is so fluid and ever changing. That they're also considering not going back, and so there are quite a few shortages in that department as well, because they just don't fancy returning to the job, and when they found something in the meantime that's been a bit more reliable, it's quite a serious problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Eli, any thoughts? I saw you. I think you were unmuting.
Definitely, this is I think this is just something that's happening not just in the music industry, but all over industries as industries wake back up. And I think that it speaks a lot to the way that we've changed our thinking during COVID, whereas perhaps before it was worth it to us to make these personal sacrifices. Now it's something that's worth reconsidering as we've had time to take a step back and be able to attend the ballet classes and the piano recitals and the soccer tournaments. And so I think that this is a heavy situation. This is a heavy headline, and we're feeling this pinch not only all over the live music sector, but all over the world in a lot of industries, I think.
Yeah, I mean, somebody also was saying, Nikki here was saying, so hard to get enough staff for events. It's a real problem. Lots of security are now working at supermarkets instead of as event security. And these are real things.
That's absolutely the truth. You will see uniformed security guards in a lot of grocery stores in the United States right now, and those are folks who used to be working event security at a venue. Now they don't have to work such late hours, perhaps, and it's a different situation. But for myself personally, I would just ache for the live industry to be flooded with qualified workers, for all qualified workers to have the jobs back that they want in the live music sector, just so that we can hallelujah go to some concerts.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we're going to continue on the live sector because, I mean, this is, the hardest hit and there's just a lot to unpack. This is coming from Numos in Seattle, a pandemic. Indie venues can't make deposits on shows. And this is an interesting thing that many people don't think about. Co-owner Steven Severin says independent venues are losing shows and artists to Live Nation and AEG because they can't make deposits on the shows. As co-owner of Seattle's popular independent venue, Numos in Capitol Hill, Steven Severin has made a staple in the Seattle music industry for more than 20 years. Roughly 10 years ago, he helped create the Seattle Nightlife and Music Association to bring together the area's live event insiders, and for the past 16 years, helped to run Numos with the sister club Barboza and the accompanying Runaway Bar. So they talked to him. It's an interview, but it's really important. I'm going to just grab a couple bits here. So Billboard asked him what's been happening since they last spoke, and he said they've been talking with friends at NEVA and have been working hard to get this all, and now we have to work hard to get our businesses going. They've already worked hard, and he's going on about this. We work stupid hours 7 days a week. Most of us are overachievers, so we don't say no to stuff. Since we are hustlers, we get given opportunities outside our 9-to-5 job, which is not 9 to 5. We are going back into doing shows, and the tank is on empty. This SVOG and the way the SBA has handled everything has been beyond atrocious. I've been very thoughtful not to say anything bad about the SBA, but the gloves have come off because they have to. They've missed every deadline. They weren't even close, and he was talking to people, and spirits are just broken. And this goes on. The SBA missing their deadlines. This goes on. That money is not rolling out. They're still saying July and August. And he's saying that people can't make deposits on the shows. So he said he knows somebody who has 4,000 tickets sold for an event and couldn't send the deposit because the ticketing company had the ticket money and the venue didn't have any other money. So once you lose an artist, especially to a bigger corporation like Live Nation or AG, you don't get them back. The next time they go on tour, you don't get them back because you can't compete with Live Nation or AEG if they want something. There's too much money, and they are able to get the Leon Bridges tour, even though you did shows with him in Austin all 17 times before. If you don't have the deposit, you aren't ever doing Leon Bridges again. So this goes deeper in his thoughts and opinions. But I mean, this is something that people, people in the industry naturally that are this living on the day to day is, this like they saw this coming. But the fact is, these SBA SVOG grants not rolling out in time. That's not just about saving the venues for rent. It's about being able to book an artist. So, hey, if I don't have any money and I can say I can open up in September, and I can be at 100% capacity in September, but they don't have any money to book an artist for September that will draw enough to get over that 75% capacity that they need to exist, then we're talking catch 22 here.
I know that we said recently that it seems like some venues are guaranteed or promised or have been approved for large sums of money through these grants. But I just want to echo again what we said the other day, that although it may sound like the dollar amounts promised are high for these venues, keep in mind that these venues have been operating, paying lots of operating costs, just right down to keeping the phone lines so that they don't have to change the phone numbers when the venue reopens. All these little bills add up each month in addition to rent. It may seem like a lot of money that is promised to these venues, but not only is that money that is to help them with back bills that are currently overdues, perhaps rent that's not paid in full yet, but these dollars are to help the businesses survive and thrive moving forward in the next 6 to 12 months. This money is so important, and we just can't wait. Let's go fund it. Let's go. Come on, let's get it.
Yeah, let's get that rolled out as quickly as possible. And Eli, let's stick with you because we're going to end up going across the pond in just a moment. So let's check in with the weather.
All right, our flight is taking off soon. We are the Music News Power Hour. We just want to remind you that we are here each and every weekday, Monday through Friday from 12 to 1 Eastern, and you can join us on Clubhouse. You can join us on Green Room. You can raise your hand to join the discussion at any time if we want to comment or chime in with a question about one of the headlines that we've read. Chime in the chat or raise your hand. You can also visit our website where you can follow along with all the headlines that we are reading today and every day on the Music News Power Hour. Click on the show notes graphic to follow along with our headlines, or you can click to watch us on stream. You can see actually what we are doing behind the scenes. You can watch us on video if you'd like by visiting our website. That's musicindustrycity.com. You can also tap the greenhouse icon at the top of this room to follow the Club Music Industry City and get updates. And be sure to follow your moderators. These are the speakers on stage with the green moderator icon. You'll be notified when the moderators are speaking online so that you don't miss any updates from the Music News Power Hour from Music Industry City Broadcast Network. And now I think our flight's taking off. Let's take a look at what's happening across the pond. Angela Randall, over to you.
Oh, now's one of those moments when I really wish that I had the almost famous scene with the upright tables and all that. The pre-flight landing thing for that all worked out ahead of time. But let's just get to the headline. Sorry, I'm choking on my words. This one comes just from The Guardian. It's Radiohead New Order and more artists call for overhaul of post-Brexit touring rules. More than 200 UK acts, including the Chemical Brothers, Kano and Wolf Alice, back the Let the Music Move initiative, calling for financial help and cutting red tape for EU tours. British music acts, including Radiohead, the Chemical Brothers, Biffy Clyro, and Annie Lennox, are calling on the UK government to offer financial support to help artists tour the EU post-Brexit. The terms of the post-Brexit agreement mean that the performing artists of all kinds must now have work permits to earn money from gigs in EU countries and have a carnet that allows the transport of goods such as musical instruments across borders. Touring vehicles registered in the UK are now only able to make three stops in the EU before returning home, making multi-stop tours unviable. Previously, UK companies and artists could earn money across the EU unimpeded. Supporting the new initiative, Let the Music Move, more than 200 artists want the UK government, quote, to do more to support the future of the music industry and mitigate the Brexit-related impacts of restrictions, costs, and delays on European touring. Other musicians giving their backing, including New Order, Little Mix, Niall Horan, Wolf Alice, Idols, Kano, Peggy Seeger, and Nitlin Shawnee. Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits said, quote, to take a van with your gear to perform across Europe is an essential start for the careers of many UK musicians. Without immediate government action to address the bureaucratic barriers put in place since the 1st of January, a whole generation of musicians will simply not be able to start or continue their touring careers, end quote. Skin of Skunk and Nancy said, quote, after the extreme financial impact of the pandemic, EU touring can and will be the lifesaver for many bands, artists, and crews, as well as a short-term traditional support package to help artists fund the expense of the new paperwork. An initiative calls for a renegotiation on touring, or at least new bilateral agreements with each country that will reduce the costs and red tape. Earlier this month, the UK government trumpeted a new deal that allows unimpeded touring to Iceland, Norway, Liechtenstein, which was scorned by many in the music industry. Iceland's population is roughly the same as Wigan, said Charlatans frontman Tim Burgess. Liechtenstein has a similar number of residents as Wilmslow. If it wasn't tragic, it would be funny. A spokesperson for the Department of Culture, Media, and Sports, DCMS, said, quote, it recognizes the difficulties still being faced by the sector, end quote, and was, quote, working closely with individual member states to encourage them to adopt a more flexible approach, end quote. On the 29th of June, Brexit negotiator Lord Frost is due to give evidence to a DCMS committee hearing on the government's failure to negotiate visa-free work for British performing artists. Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden has previously said that during Brexit negotiations, the EU rejected a mutually beneficial agreement that would have allowed performers to continue working and perform across the continent without the need for work permits, a claim that was disputed by the EU. In May, Elton John met Frost and later said on Instagram, quote, during our meeting, Lord Frost said trying to solve this issue is a long process. Unfortunately, our industry doesn't have time. It is dying now. We are currently in grave danger of losing a generation of talent due to the gaping holes in the government's trade deal, end quote. And of course, the 29th of June, coming in just under a week's time, we'll be giving you updates on that meeting between Brexit negotiator Lord Frost and the DCMS, when hopefully we'll have some good news to report from the UK. For now, back to you guys.
Right on. And also, you know, it's I don't know if it's a happy anniversary, but happy Brexit anniversary.
Ow, that one smarts. I really hope people over in the chat on Green Room are as infuriated as I am to even hear the word Brexit, let alone anniversary, but thanks.
Yeah. So, you know, we're going to continue talking about a little bit more from the UK here because everything that's been going on recently. So you have the Brexit, the touring issues, everything. And this one from Complete Music Update. MPs join industry in criticizing delay in publishing findings of UK government's events research program. So goes on. This is like Kendall Calling has called them out and, you know, many others. Now the MPs are getting involved. The UK government said that it would publish the results of its events research program, quote, very soon, amid mounting criticism over the delays in making the findings of that research public. Meanwhile, some stats from the research have leaked, mainly relating to the anticipated economic impact of keeping different COVID safety measures in place even once full capacity shows return. It has been claimed that ministers have delayed publication of the results of the ERP because its findings pretty much contradict last week's policy decision to postpone the return of full capacity events by another month. Ministers has also been accused of extending the program so that they can cherry pick events that will be popular with voters, allowing the selected few to proceed despite current COVID rules. The leaked economic impact report published by Politico shows that the government is well aware of how big a negative effect continued restrictions on live events are having on the industry. It also shows that a number of possible safety measures that have been proposed, even for stage 4 of the government's COVID roadmap, when full capacity shows can return, could have a major impact on the revenues generated by the live industry. The article, there is a link to the article on this article, and inside this article is a link to the leaked economic impact report, which was published by Politico, and you can find that at musicindustrycity.com. Click on the show notes and scroll down, you can find it. So we're going to talk about a few points here, and there's a lot more to unpack. And if anybody's open up for discussion, please wants to talk about this, feel free to raise your hand, join the stage, or join us in the chat. To continue, according to Politico, possible safety measures assessed regarding economic impact include mandatory face masks, restricted capacities, a ban on food and alcohol sales, and the requirement to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test before attending a show. Implementing all 4 of these would result in billions of pounds in losses, with revenues just 69% of those in 2019. Mandatory face masks and an alcohol ban alone would mean the live sector would only return to revenues of 78% of 2019 levels. Meanwhile, just having face mask requirement would hit revenues too, so they'd likely reach 82% of 2019 levels. The key cause of the fall in revenues, the study shows, is that many of the proposed safety measures would put people off attending events altogether, resulting in lower ticket sales. A survey of ticket buyers found that people would be 28% less likely to go to an event if face masks are obligatory, while banning food and drink sales would make that 43% less likely to attend. Only proof of vaccination or a negative test would make people more likely to attend an event, providing an increase of 15%. This article goes on deeper. It refers to the organizers Kendall Calling canceling their 2021 edition and saying that, quote, there are numerous aspects of the festival we cannot plan and which could lay us wide open to a last-minute unforeseen regulations or requirements which would scupper an already built festival. Capacity or density restrictions, track and trace protocols, testing regime, COVID certification, and a host of unknown actions required yet potentially requested too late to be implemented. It goes on and on and on. And I mean, are restaurants open? What's this ban on food and alcohol? Are pubs open? Are restaurants open? Can you buy food and beverage at sporting events? What's going on over there? Anybody? I see the chat is just scrolling. I can't even keep up. I got to put this in slow mode. Who wants to start off with this one?
I can answer your question insofar as yes, pubs and restaurants are open. I was in London myself the last 2 days, and we ate in a pub without a mask on. We bought food and beverages. There were people in the beer garden standing around without masks on. You have to wear them. You have to sign in and track and trace, and you have to wear them to and from the table and in common areas. But when you're seated at your table indoors, you're fine. I think the not selling of alcohol recommendation, it comes because they believe people will make poor decisions about whether or not to continue to social distance or wear their masks if they're drunk, which is, I suppose, a reasonable assessment. But they haven't even really done anything to attempt it, other than I should mention the download pilot, which just happened this past weekend with 10,000 people in attendance. So far, I've known several people in different parts of the country who've gone, came back, weren't wearing their masks. They, followed the rules and have already done their first lateral flow tests and haven't, as so far as we can tell, contracted anything. So, of course, there'll be more on that later. But at the moment, yeah, it has been open and has been sort of operational as best as we can do. The only thing that's been held up until the 19th of July is a complete lift in restrictions, which I think is what a lot of people would have hoped for some of these live events going forward. But festivals like Truck and Kendall have just also had to cancel. And as a result, I think they were really hoping that if we opened a few days ago, as was planned, it would be all those restrictions lifted, and they would prove to be somewhat not actual pilots, official pilots, but opportunities to be able to prove that the government's science that they haven't been following thus far is correct, and they should follow that science.
Yeah, so it's just final wait and see, and hopefully things will get going soon. All right. We're going to continue for some more international, and by international, I mean outside of the U.S. But this one is our neighbors to the north, and this one is from musically.com. Streaming and social companies face new regulations in Canada. Canada famously has regulations applying to traditional broadcasters around how much Canadian content, music, films, TV shows, etc. they must air. Now, the Canadian government is working through the process of adapting those rules for the streaming era. In its new legislation, Bill C-10 is described by Bloomberg as, quote, among the most far-reaching plans by governments anywhere to regulate the algorithms tech companies use to amplify or recommend content. This is not just about video and music streaming services, it's about social media too, which is sparked a lot of debate about how local content quotas should, or even whether they could, be applied to platforms with a large amount of user-generated content. YouTube has already protested, saying that it supports the goal of the bill, but is, quote, deeply concerned about the possible unintended consequences. If Bill C-10 rules were to go into effect as currently written, people would be seeing suggestions not based on their personal preferences or even what is most relevant, but what the government decides is Canadian. interesting thought. It's something like, geotagging. It's like, the government is deciding what is Canadian or not. So I mean, it's a interesting area to watch. And we talked about NFTs earlier and just being careful. And well, this one, we're going over to the crypto world. And this is from digitalmusicnews.com. And cryptocurrency scam lawsuit against TI tossed by federal appeals court. A panel of the 11th Circuit judges has upheld the dismissal of a lawsuit against rapper TI over a cryptocurrency ICO, which is an initial coin offering. The 21-page opinion included at least 7 references to the rapper's songs. The 3-judge panel ruled that the lawsuit failed to plausibly allege that T.I. or his business associate Ryan Felton fraudulently hid information from investors. A class action lawsuit filed by Kenneth Feditz sued rapper T.I. and Felton in May 2019. That's after the investors bought Flick tokens, a type of cryptocurrency promoted by celebrities around the time. The tokens were sold to investors in a move to raise money to launch Flick and a new fund, new movie streaming platform. However, the streaming movie platform never materialized, and rapper T.I. and Felton sold their shares of tokens at the top of its price chart. Quote, Flick is an empty shell that never developed any actual business, the complaint alleged, and the suit was dismissed as it was filed outside a statute of limitations written into the Security Acts. The complaint says both the rapper and his business associate made false representations about the currency to inflate the price. They also alleged that the Flick tokens sold to investors were unregistered securities. An attorney for the investors argued during a hearing that the complaint should be allowed to go forward because founders hid facts about the illegal scheme. The panel of 3 judges in the Atlanta-based circuit court unanimously agreed to uphold the original dismissal. They found that Feditz and his fellow investors, quote, had all the facts necessary before, during, or soon after the initial coin offering and were not prevented from realizing that they had invested in Flick tokens in August and September of 2017. All right. I'm bringing this one up just because we talked about in this day in history. I mean, the timing of this, and we talked about Chris Brown in this day in history and dealing with Rihanna for abuse. Well, there's another article, Chris Brown being investigated for battery after allegedly hitting a woman. This is from June 22nd. The incident is being referred to the Los Angeles City's attorney's office. Okay? So he's been accused of hitting a woman during an argument in a Los Angeles home, as NBC News reports. According to the news, Los Angeles Police Department responded to reports of an altercation at a home in San Fernando Valley on Friday, June 18th. The incident is being investigated as battery and will be referred to the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office. All right, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I just like, why does he always pop up in the news? Why is this happen? I pulled up Wikipedia. There are 7 incidents, and it's all about, it's like how do we help this person to like not give him the spotlight? Not like, he's not allowed into Australia. He's not allowed to New Zealand. He's not allowed into UK for crimes, and it continues to happen. Why are all these things that every single time it's like, here's another incident of him doing the same repeated behavior? What is it going to take?
You know, this is so widely publicized that about 10 years ago, the sketch comedy duo Key and Peele did a sketch about this particular topic. And they did a parody song that they entitled Hit That. And that's what the whole sketch was about, was Rihanna being afraid of Chris Brown at the time they were together. And it really does beg the question, why is this so well known that it's worthy of its own comedy sketch? Why is it such pop culture knowledge?
Right.
It's a shame. And how can we stop it?
It's ongoing. The thing is, it's ongoing, and there hasn't been. It's like everything's like, oh, you get it. Just here's a slap on the wrist, or here's a nose. Pulls a gun out on somebody. It's ongoing. It's like, what does it take? I mean, this. I don't want this to be, oh, we should have done something sooner. So I'm just. This is my rant of the day. I'm tired of seeing this.
I think everyone's with you on that one. I think we're all tired of seeing this, and we wish there was a way to remedy that before someone really gets hurt even worse than they already have.
As somebody just wrote in the chat, same. With that being said, let's move on to something a little different. Facebook. This is more of a upbeat. I kind of like this one. Facebook to waive commission on live streams until 2023. Facebook will not take a cut on ticketed virtual events such as concerts for at least another 2 years, according to the Zuckerberg. He says, quote, to help more creators make a living on our platforms, we're going to see paid online events, fan subscriptions, badges, and our upcoming independent news products free for creators until 2023. Continues, and when we do introduce a revenue share, it will be less than the 30% that Apple and others take. The company recently rolled out its paid online events functionality to a further 24 countries, bringing the total territories where the creators such as musicians can sell tickets for virtual events to 44. Introduced in April of 2020 in response to the boom in live stream events, the feature effectively allows Facebook pages to sell digital tickets for virtual shows, whether live streamed via Facebook's own Facebook Live or a third-party site. Facebook had previously said it would take no commission on paid online events until August of 2021. I also like the dig here. There was just a little shades that they will take less than the 30% that Apple and others take.
Yeah, but this is like, and sorry to break in here, Peter, but this kind of sort of benevolence, it just seems a little bit fallen on deaf ears. Where Mark Zuckerberg, who's worth like billions at this stage, is just doing that little bit that he can to extend his assistance to an industry that is, I mean, is suffering worse than just about any other industry and continues to suffer. While it is kindness in a sense, it's kind of wrapped in a bit of smarm, because it would take nothing for them to make this free all the time, really, and not take a commission at all. And in fairness, it sort of only became a product out of people's innovation and having come up with an idea to use Facebook for that purpose in the first place. And when they noticed so many of them happening, it kind of became a thing, or maybe it simultaneously became a thing. Either way, I'm glad that it's free for now.
I'm glad that it's free for now as well, and I kind of look at it like the all-you-can-eat buffet at the casino. This is where you get all your money back. Go and live stream right now on Facebook. Go do it.
And for everybody else, support those artists that are live streaming, and make sure you go to Bandcamp Fridays, and when they have it's first Friday of the month, do that, where Bandcamp allows 100% to go to the artist. Go to their Twitch streams, give them bits, subscribe, anything to help out. A little bit goes a long way. And speaking of Twitch, we're not going to talk about Twitch today, but we are going to talk about Twitter. Twitter now lets iOS users easily share tweets as Instagram stories. Twitter's iOS app has been updated to let anyone quickly and easily share tweets to their Instagram story. The feature works using the iOS share sheet. Just tap on the share icon underneath any tweet and select Instagram stories from the list of apps. Once in Instagram, the tweet can be resized, repositioned, and adorned with the image service's standard selection of text, stickers, music, and annotations. Of course, you've always had the option of screenshotting tweets and manually uploading them to an Instagram story, but the new interface makes the process a lot easier and the results are slicker. However, it seems to work better with text and image-based tweets for now. The author goes on to say he tried the feature on a tweet with an embedded video and found that Instagram imported it as a static image. While it's now easier to share tweets to Instagram, it's still just as hard to share Instagram content to Twitter. Posting an Instagram link on Twitter still shows up just as a plain URL without a preview card. The functionality disappeared way back in 2012 and shows no sign of returning anytime soon. And Twitter's official integration with Instagram stories follows a similar functionality added to Snapchat last year. Like the Snapchat integration, Twitter is only making the new sharing feature available to iOS users for now, and it hasn't mentioned when it might be available on Android. With that being said,
Big green dot, it's the spot.
It is time for the Spotify Spot, where we look at digital streaming technology in the music industry. But before we go into our Spotify Spot, we do want to take a look at your local weather. Your West Coast has the sunshine and the girls all get so tanned. Watch for French bikinis on your local island down by a palm tree in the sand. Over to you, Peter, for the Spotify spot.
Right on. This one, I am going to ask for forgiveness on how I'm going to pronounce all these names in this next article. But Spotify singles debut in India with the DJ Snake remix. Spotify has launched its single series and recordings in India to mark World Music Day this past week. The first release is neither an original track nor a cover version, but a remix of DJ Snake's reworking of Enjoy and Jam Me by singer Z, rapper Arvu, and composer Santosh Narayanan. Hopefully I got that close. The streaming service's decision to kick off the program with Tamil song is another testament to the exponentially increasing popularity of regional Indian language music on the platform. The instantaneous, memorable, and politically charged Enjoy and Jami was itself the debut offering from Indian musician A.R. Rahman's new initiative, Maja, which aims to spotlight independent South Asian artists. The track quickly went viral upon its release in March and has tallied near 15 million plays on Spotify, on which it has outperformed some of his film hits. And less surprising is the choice of DJ Snake to remix the track. EDM is one of the most popular international music genres in India, and the territory is one of the French artists' top streaming markets in the world. And that is it for the reads today. If anybody wants to offer up some commentary over here, just raise your hand. We'll bring you up on stage. And if anybody over in the chat and also in our live streams. And once we wrap up, we are going to do a post-show hangout over in Green Room. So everybody over in Green Room that has been in the text chat, we will be there and we'll have everybody up on stage for a short post-show wrap-up. But if while we're still over here on Clubhouse, if anybody in the audience wants to jump in with anything, feel free to discuss any of today's topics. Feel free to raise your hand and we'll bring you on up. And in the meantime, Eli, anything stuck out to you today?
I'm just really smarting over all of the heartbreak in the live music sector and crew members and venue workers and security specialists who are not returning to venues where maybe they had previously worked. And so I'm just really hoping that not only do these folks get to come back, but also the shuttered venue funding that's promised comes through for venues, because I'm really just aching for some live shows to return again. I love sliding into my seat and when the house lights go to half. And I can't wait for that to return again. I'm hoping that the shuttered venue grant funding does come in sooner rather than later. And I'm really hoping that pathways are opened and ways are made for professionals to return to these these incredibly skilled jobs at venues where they're so desperately needed in these times. I want to see some shows come back. Let's have that.
Right on. Angela, anything else stuck out for you?
Yeah, I was the article at the top of the show stuck out for me. The Element Records acquisition. I'm obviously we hear about catalogs like Stevie Nicks and Paul Simon and the like, and some producers' catalogs being bought up by Hypnosis and Universal and Sony and others. But to see a hip hop record label, be purchased by a major record label and sort of given the ability to continue to run on its own steam for a bit while it can, just kind of gives it some longevity. And it's nice that hip hop as a genre is preserved as best it can. With the whole De La Soul thing, it kind of went a bit strange for a bit and no one could figure out what to do. So it's nice to hear that some people have found a way to keep that music alive and around for future generations to enjoy.
Right on. Love it. All right. I think we are going to wrap up and we're going to head over. We're going to do the post-show conversation over in Green Room. So for those who are in Green Room, we'll be over there in just a second. We'll invite people up to the stage to have the post-show conversation. Eli, closing remarks. Time to wrap it.
Don't forget about the after party. And indeed, make sure that you tap the greenhouse icon at the top of this room to join the Music Industry City Club, and be sure to follow your green button moderators on the stage who are speaking. Join us every weekday 12 to 1 Eastern right here at the Music News Power Hour, and be sure to register for free on our website, musicindustrycity.com. Have a great day, and thank you so much for joining our broadcast.
We had one late guest.
Wonderful.
RNE.
Welcome.
Oh yeah, we still have just we got 2 minutes. What
Totally. Just in time.
Yep.
I just feel like these headlines are just horrifying, and I don't know, like what Eli said earlier, I really want to echo that. And I just feel like pretty upset about it as a musician. First it was like taking away our revenue from album sales because of streaming. And now it's like live music is at risk. It's just really like, wow, that's really hitting me hard to hear these headlines. So I just wanted to, I don't know, say that because I don't know if I'm the only one feeling that, but that's pretty heavy news.
Yeah, it's I don't like reading it. I've been saying to Angela, with everything that's going on in the UK, I'm like, can something else happen over there so we aren't using the words Brexit, EU, touring, problems, and MPs and all this. I'm like, can somebody do something else over there so we can stop talking about it? I mean, yeah, it's not, and I'm not saying this lightheartedly. I mean, but we all want to see that light at the end of the tunnel get closer and we're out there and people back to work and tours going on. It's just, we want streaming to pay more. We want everything, but we're not asking for everything. We want a foundation. And this, it's across the board. It's hospitality. It's, we're all still reeling from last year and a half. And, it's going to have that asterisk next to it. And, but hopefully it's going to be soon. It's going to be soon. I mean, this is the SBA just got to get their shit together. Just come on.
If you do want some good news from over here, Irini, do yourself a favor and just have a look on Instagram at some of the photos and videos from the Download Festival that happened over here in the UK this past weekend. 10,000 people in mosh pits, hugging and jumping and singing. And my friend Zoe DJ'd the silent disco that went on in the after party tent. Pretty much everybody at the festival was there, all jumping around and singing and dancing and have a wonderful time. It's close. We're close. We just have to grit through this last few yards to the end.
Awesome.
Right.
Mosh pits. I love it.
Mosh pits, right on. All right, with that, we're going to wrap up and go to musicindustrycity.com. We are having an event in the metaverse tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern at the Music Industry City Metaverse. We're having a picnic on the festival grounds. So there is a stage. We'll have some music playing. You can hang out in the park. You get to meet some other city residents. You have to RSVP. So everybody that's registered at musicindustrycity.com, you got an email this morning. So check your spam folders if you didn't get it. So it's a link to that. It's 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We are Music News Power Hour, and we are going to be doing this again tomorrow, same time every Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Hey, Eli, maybe we should call it the Music News at noon. Isn't that what you suggested?
Yeah, I kind of like that. The music news at noon, because it's the only noon news I care to hear about. I don't care about any other noon news.
Yeah, Music News at noon. I think I was talking to Eli. She's like, how about Music News at noon? I'm like, ooh, I think we're onto something. That way everybody knows it's noon Eastern, and we're going to make that happen. So everybody have a great day. Yeah. Thank you again, Eli. Thank you again, Angela. And Green Room, hang out. We'll be there in just a second. See you in a bit. We'll be back after the music.
See you soon. Cheerio.
Cheerio. It's so great to see everyone. Thanks for joining us. It's good to see you. I hope you have a great day.